Well, all right, welcome to this week's episode of Handmade House TV. I'm Noah Bradley. Today I'd like to talk to you a bit about perfectionism. Stay tuned. Well, all right, welcome to Handmade House TV, not Perfect House TV. I'd like to share with you a little bit about perfection and how it's a danger. Of course, the word perfect is fine. It's great to compliment someone and tell them that, wow, that's just perfect. We all want to be praised, and perfect should be a word of praise, but often it's an injurious concept for us to face in the handmade house world of trying to create a handmade house and not a perfect house. One of the problems with perfectionism is that it tends to stop us from moving forward in the creation of our own home, in the creation of anything. If you look back on my first YouTube videos I've created here on Handmade House TV, the first couple are absolutely awful. I have to admit they're embarrassing to me, and there have been times where I've been tempted to remove it. And that's not to acknowledge and say that I think that I'm at perfection now. I'm not. I have a long way to go. But nonetheless, our first attempts at doing anything are often less than satisfactory. And so there's a fear that, first of all, we want to create something really wonderful. We can envision something beautiful. We want something beautiful when we finish it. We want it to be perfect. But the first time we do something, it's hard to achieve that. And this desire for perfectionism often prevents us from ever moving forward. One of the wonderful pieces of advice I can offer you to get past this fear of perfectionism is to go ahead and undertake something small. My wife quilts, and rather than making her first quilt a full-size bed quilt, she would make some quilt wall hangings. In the Log Cabin Academy that I'm currently doing, I'm encouraging everyone to build a small log outbuilding or playhouse for themselves, that in the process you will gain confidence in what you're doing, that you'll be able to move forward in something, you'll be gaining experience, and you'll also be gaining skills as you undertake something smaller. So that's one way of getting past perfectionism. Another a fear that we have with perfectionism is that we're constantly putting ourselves out there to be judged, not only by ourselves, who are the worst critics, but also there's plenty of other critics in the world who will point out our flaws to us, and it's injurious. So again, it's something that keeps us from moving forward. I have found that I have been creating log cabins for over 30 years now. I'm standing in front of my favorite ones, one of the few favorite ones that I really love. And if you will look at the stone work, if you will look at the corner notching that's going on in this log cabin, they are not perfect. And I would find that as the years went by in my log building, in my stone building, is that it's a natural tendency for us who take pride in our work to move towards perfection. One large problem with perfectionism in any of the trades is, again, we take a man or a woman who is creating a product, and it is becoming handmade because they are creating it. But as they improve with their skills, it becomes more and more looking like a manufactured product. I have hired blacksmiths before that could hammer a rough piece of iron into something so smooth and perfect that it looked like something that hung on a store shelf at Walmart being stamped out of a factory. I have hired brick masons and told them the goal of a brick job that looked like an urban tobacco warehouse. If you've ever been into an old brick building, they're absolutely gorgeous with the character of what old brickwork is. But most brick masons have achieved perfection in the fact that it looks like rolled out linoleum. When it comes time to stonemasons, that they will frequently get so good with the stone work that it looks like glued on stone. And perhaps the greatest example I could give you is plasterers who have done such a great job with their plaster work that it now looks as good as what drywall does, which is the whole point in not hiring a drywall person and hiring a plaster person, is that you want some of that character of handmadeness. So when I'm creating a log cabin or a timber frame, or I'm doing my stone work, I'm deliberately trying to make things a little bit out of square, a little bit out of plumb, a little bit crooked, not to perfection. I'm trying to keep some of the quality, some of that uniqueness that comes from something that's created by an individual who has not done it for a living, but someone who is doing it for themselves, someone doing it with care. The goal is to do something good enough, to do it as good as what you can in the time allotted, and don't fret, don't worry about getting it to infinite details of being absolutely perfect. So to summarize all this up, my words of advice for you is do not be afraid that your work needs to be perfected. In fact, it shouldn't be perfected. It should be handmade, something that you created with your own hand, with a skill level you're at, doing the best you can, something you can take pride in. Well, I hope that helps. I hope that made sense. I hope that got the point across. You take care. I'll see you on the next episode of Handmade House TV. Until then, we'll see you. Oh, and I did want to thank 6 more members of the Handmade House Academy: Charles Wine, William Izzard, David Clark, Greg Gunder, Kevin Noen, and Bob Bradley. Can't go wrong with a name like Bradley. Thank you guys so much for joining me within the Handmade House Academy and for your kind words of support. It means so much to me. It's what keeps us going. And my goal is to help you get the best house that you can. So until next week, you take care. Thank you. Bye.